Recording in progress.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Krishnaya Paramatmane Namaha Shrikanto Matulo Yasya Janani Sarvamangala Janakashankaro Devaha Tam Vande Kunjarananam Yonta Pravishya Mama Vachamimam Prasuptam Sanjeevayatyakila Shakti Dharaswadhamna Anyanscha Hasta Charana Shravanatvagadin Pranan Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. Shri Haraye Namaha. Namaste to all of you. We are in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Bhagavan is talking about Atma Samyama, or self-victory, empowerment of the self, regulation of the self, restraint of the self. Atma Samyama is the content matter of this adhyaya. It is also called Dhyana Yoga because Atma Samyama automatically lends the mind towards dhyana. So both contents are dealt by Bhagavan in this chapter, where the first part, where Bhagavan starts with Karma Yoga, where he says Anashritah karma palang karyang karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnihi na cha akriyaha. So Bhagavan is defining a karma yogi who has given up karma phala titiksha trishna. The karma phala trishna. Titiksha means forbearance. So trishna means that longing for the fruit of action. So indulging in action in view of the fruit of action is not preferred, is the message Bhagavan gives. And somebody who slowly gets into the habit of dharma adharma viveka and gets into the things that need to be done as a kartavya, slowly he is equated to a sannyasi. So Bhagavan says the karma phala sannyasitvam of a karma yogi is the real sannyasa. Anashrita karma palam anashritya karyang karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha. It is not just ritualistically giving up things like Agnihotra and so on, which were the ones that were done at that point of time, and then people gave it up when they took up sannyasa. So Bhagavan is pointing out the inner characteristic or the antahkarana shuddhi that is there for a person who follows karma yoga. And he further defined sannyasa. Yam sannyasam prahuhu yogam tam vidhi pandava na hyasanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. Without giving up that sankalpa, you cannot become a sannyasi, and without that you cannot become a yogi. Know that when you have an ease towards the result of an action, when you are able to take the result of an action with a prasada buddhi, without a lot of mental agitation, know that you are getting to be a yogi as well, because without giving up that trishna towards karma phala, you cannot become a yogi either. So and as we saw, Madhusudana Saraswati took up a lot of sutras from the Yoga Sutra, and he quoted all of them and proved his point that even Patanjali, who sat down and formulated the path of yoga, agrees with this assessment of Krishna, where the karma pala trishna should not exist with this person. So yam sanyasamiti prahuhu tam yogam vidhi. Know that which is the sannyasa as yoga as well. Na hyasanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana yogi bhavati na. And I think we need to see the third the shloka in here. So where Bhagavan okay. So in the previous verse, Bhagavan said, hey, what is sannyasa? That is the same thing as yoga. Now he is going to show you how that sannyasa gives a person or elevates a person to the level of a yogi. Let us look at the Bhashyam where Shankaracharya introduces this concept. Give me 1 second. Okay. Yevam Paramartha Sannyasa Karma Yogayoho Kartridvarakam Sannyasa Samanyam Apekshya Yam Sanyasamiti Prahuhu Yogam Tam Vidhi Pandava Iti Karma Yogasya Stutyartam Sanyasatvam Uktam Dhyana Yogasya Pala Nirapekshaha Karma Yogo Bahirangam Sadhanam Iti Tam Sanyasatvena Stutva Adhuna. Having said all this, having proclaimed sannyasa as giving up karma pala trishna, Bhagavan wants to now, that was a sannyasa stuti. Why it is a sannyasa stuti? Now you are going to see it. You could as well say that there is no need for sannyasa ashrama at all. Why that? Just to be a karma yogi, that itself is sannyasa. Actually, that is not the case. Bhagavan is going to show that. Stutva, having praised karma, giving up the longing for fruits of action as sannyasa, having made that as the stuti, adhuna, now what he is going to show is karma yogasya dhyana yoga sadhanatvam darshayati. How karma yoga becomes the sadhana for dhyana yoga. So now there is a sequence that is brought about by Bhagavan. First he places karma yoga and then he says, once you have followed karma yoga, now you are ready for dhyana yoga. So the sadhanam is karma yoga and the sadhyam is dhyana yoga. That you get by following this is dhyana yoga. So let us read it. I think before you I don't know who is Ramesh ji, can you read with me? Or Gayatri ji?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. Arurukshor munir yogam
Arurukshor munir yogam
karma karana muchyate
karma karana muchyate
yoga rudhasya tasyaiva
yoga rudhasya tasaiva
shamah karana muchyate.
shama karana muchyate.
Yeah, can you read the entire shloka please?
Arurukshor munir yogam karma karana muchyate yoga rudhasya tasaiva shama karana muchyate.
Uchyate means it is said. Uchuhu means somebody is saying. Uvacha means somebody is saying, uchu means they said, and so on. Uch, uchyat is the dhatu. Uchyate, it is said. What is it said? Okay, Bhagavan says, Arurukshoho munehe yogam karma karanam iti uchyate. It is said. Yogarudhasya tasya eva shamaha karanam uchyate. So what does these things mean? We'll see word by word. Yogam, the yoga, arurukshoho, of one who desires to attain. He is desiring to climb. Aroha means to climb up. Even in music we call it arohana, means to climb up. Sari, gama, pada, ni, sa is called arohana. And coming up, sani, dha, pa, ma, ga, ri, sa is called avarohan. Arohan and avarohan. This arurukshu is somebody who is climbing up. So this arohan, this person who is climbing up is called as a muni. Of a muni. Munehe. Karma yoga. Karma karanam uchyate. It is said. It is said that for a muni who is climbing up to the level of a person who is climbing up to the level of a muni, karma yoga is the means. Karma karanamuchyate. Karma is the karana. Karma is the means. Yoga plus arudhasya. Arudha is somebody who has climbed up. He is up there. He is already there. He has done his work, climbed up, and he is there. Yogam arudhasya. Yogam arudhasyeti yogarudhaha. Who has climbed up the path of yoga. Yogarudhasya. One who has attained the state of a yogi. Shamaha. Shama means tranquility. Shamaha karanam uchyate. It is said that Shama is the karana. What he says is that for a sage who wants to attain the peak of yoga, karma yoga is the means. For a person who has reached the peak or the height of yoga, meditation or serenity or tranquility is the means. So he is saying one who is climbing up, something is the means. One who has already climbed up, something else is the means. So, interesting, because now he is making one as a sadhana for this step 1 and another sadhana for step 2, so that he is giving a sequence here. So let us look at the bhashyam of this. Arurukshoho arudam icchantaha. Arudha means to climb up. Rishabharudaha, Garudarudaha. We say who is on the Rishabha, on the Garuda. Arudha means to climb up. Garudaruda is Mahavishnu. Rishabharuda is Parameshwara, and so on. So Arudham icchantaha. He wants to climb up. Arurukshuhu. Arurukshu means somebody who wants to climb up. Anarudhasya dhyana yoge avastatum ashaktasyaivetyarthaha. So kasya tasya arurukshoho munehe karma phala sanyasin ityarthaha. So that this thing has to be there. Muni, his karma phala is somebody who is defined as a karma phala sannyasi. So what does he wants to climb? He wants to climb up to be a yogi. For him, karma is a means. For someone who has established himself, he has already reached the destination. Yogarudhasya punaha tasyaiva shamaha upashamaha sarva karmebhyo nivrittihi karanam yogarudhasya sadhanam ityuchyate ityarthaha. So for him, shama, upashama or nivritti from action. So giving up action or getting into a meditative state or getting the mind automatically tranquil without the agitation of the surroundings, that becomes the means for a yogi. Ityartaha. Yavad karmabhyaha uparamate tavat nirayasasya jitendriyasya chittam samadhiyate. A very beautiful statement by Shankaracharya. He says, yavat karmabhyaha uparamate. Slowly, as and when somebody is able to give up action, tavat, that much, chittam samadhiyate. The mind automatically becomes meditative. But for whom? Jitendriyasya. Look at that. For one who has controlled his senses. So one who has already controlled his senses, this statement becomes a axiom for him to follow. But for him to control the senses, he needs to work on karma and karma yoga. In fact, the best thing is to keep oneself busy from the time you get up till the time you go to bed. Have it packed with activities that are dharmic and makes you feel good. That is the best thing. But once you get to the level that you have control over the senses, then automatically your mind will become meditative. Yavad karmabhyaha uparamate tavat nirayasasya. Ayasa means struggle, effort. Without any effort. Nirayasasya jitendriyasya. For the one who has control over his senses, chittam samadhiyate. Tata sati ta jhatiti yogarudho bhavati. That is the reason why he becomes a yogarudha. Jhatiti means without delay. Tata choktam vyasena. He gives a many times you see that Shankaracharya has read the Mahabharata a lot along with the Upanishads and so on. So he will quote a lot from the Mahabharata. Naitadrisham brahmanasyasti vittam tataikata samata satyata cha Sheelam stitir danda nidhana marjavam tataschoparamaa kriyabhyaha. So kriyabhyaha uparamaha. Withdrawing from action helps him. However much he withdraws from karma, that much it helps, is the message that is given there. So how this is interpreted is that the more you indulge yourself in selfless action, the more the body identity that one has reduces, actually. So that is the reason why the Upanishad takes a very intuitive approach towards eliminating these ideas that are there in the mind. Rather than telling somebody that, hey, you are the Atma, that's it. Upanishad doesn't do that. Rather, it takes a layered approach. It says, hello, you have so many personalities. You are your body, and then you are your mind, and then you are your intellect, and then like that it gives it defines a person in different layers, and it says yetamannamayamaatmanamupasankramati. Slowly he gives up that body identity. It's not as though he gives up his body. It is just that he knows that, oh, these are a pair of glasses. I know that, but I know that these are not me. Like that, this person knows that, hey, this is my body, this is not me. So that awareness will develop as much as you can indulge in selfless action, because it cleans one's mind and makes it pure. And that makes him withdraw from the world, and that is when he is absorbed in the meditation of the self. That is the roadmap that Bhagavan is given. Another observation here is Bhagavan was praising Karma Yoga so much, and he was saying that Karma Yoga itself is sannyasa. It is not just giving up rituals and all. It is Karma Yoga is sannyasa. All that, the supreme word sannyasa was used by Bhagavan for Karma Yoga itself. But now, slowly, because any teaching is directed towards the person who is receiving the teaching, right then and there. So you will see that contrast when Bhagavan, the same Krishna, is talking to Uddhava versus Arjuna. Here, the intention of Bhagavan is to make him indulge in action, and that is where Arjuna is in the stage of his progression. So Bhagavan gives the right advice, but that doesn't mean that Bhagavan doesn't mention the state of a sadhaka in its entirety. So he does want to show that as well. So that is the reason why he is really pointing out that here yogarudasya tasyaiva shamaha karanam uchyate. At that point of time, karma uparati, withdrawing from karma, giving up karma, real sannyasa is also mentioned here by Bhagavan. So because Bhagavan, the word Bhagavan uses here is arurukshuhu, the one who is climbing up, meaning the one who has taken up this journey. It is a very beautiful word. And any time sannyasa is talked about, shama is the first quality of sannyasa, because in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya Athato Brahma Jignasa, now we will talk about Brahman, and Shankaracharya goes into explain what was already talked about. Now that he wants to talk about Brahman, what was already talked about. There he says all the qualities that are there for a person having performed so much of selfless action, this person has gained. Those are the qualities that a person was the subject matter before talking about Atma. And at that time, the first thing that is talked about is Shamadhi Shatka Sampattihi. Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, and so on. So they call it Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampattihi. And the first thing, Shama. In fact, Shankaracharya defines Shama in Viveka Chudamani as Swalakshye Niyatavastha Manasaha Shama Ityuchyate. Shama is the calm and contemplative state attained by the mind of a person. So this contemplative state of mind where the mind is not agitated is the characteristic of somebody who has done a lot of service, is the message that is put out by Bhagavan. Now, when does one become a yogarudha? Bhagavan says, hey, you will become a yogarudha. Meaning, when does he become, when does he attain that state? He was traveling about how he is there in the journey. So, when does he get there? Atha idanim kada yogarudo bhavati ityuchyate. When does he become a yoga arudha? So, for that, Bhagavan says, Gayatri ji, let's read. Yada hi nendriyartheshu
Yada hi nendriyartheshu
na karmasvanu shajjate
na karmasvanu shajjate
sarva sankalpa sannyasi
sarva sankalpa sannyasi
yogarudhastadochyate
yogarudhasya yojyate
tada uchyate tadochyate यदा हिनेन्द्रियार्थेषु न कर्मस्वनुषज्यते सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासी योगारूढस्तदोच्यते. यदा हि नेन्द्रियार्थेषु न इन्द्रियार्थेषु नेन्द्रियार्थेषु न कर्मसु अनुषज्यते सर्व संकल्प सन्यासी योगारूढ़ः तदा उच्यते. यदा ही, indeed when does he become a yogarudha was the question. Now Bhagavan gives the answer. Yada hi, indeed when, indriyartheshu, in the sense object, indriyanam arthaha, the subject matter for the senses, which is sense objects. Indriyanam arthaha, indriyarthaha, teshu, in those. So in the sense objects, incidentally, ind means to be powerful. Indriyas are so powerful because the root ind means to be powerful. That is why he is called as Indra, the lord of the devas, Indraha, and he is the Abhimani devata of Indriya. All the Indra, Bale, in normally in the nyasa, before mantra japa, we invoke the totality of every faculty in our indriyas. For instance, in our eyes, they will evoke Chandra, Surya, because they provide the light. They are the totality for making the universe visible. And I have a small power in my eyes like that. I am able to breathe. The totality is Vayu. And like that, the totality of Indriya Bala, the ability of every sense organ, I have some. That is the reason why I am able to do all the things I do. But the totality is Indra. That is the reason why he is all powerful. Indraha, Indriya. That is the reason why it is called Indriya, because it is very powerful. But here, this guy is even more powerful than the Indriya. That is the reason why he karmasu, in the activities that this Indriya is doing, anushajjate, anu, to attain, to cling to, anushajja, to attach to cling to. He does not do that. Na. Sarva sankalpa sannyasi. Sarvesham sankalpanam sannyasi. He renounces the longing for the result of action completely. It's not as though he is giving up action, but that sankalpa that drives to do this and that and that and that and this, that sankalpa is not there. He, because of Prakriti Vasana, he does a lot of things. That is the reason why once somebody gets to the pinnacle of yoga, they become 100% useful to the society. Like Swami Vivekananda, there is not an iota of selfishness in them. They completely give their body, mind, intellect, everything to the society. At that point of time, they become Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi. Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi, that person is called Yoga Arudhaha. Yogam Arudham iti. That person who has climbed up to the pinnacle of yoga. He has attained yoga. Yoga Rudhaha tada. At that time, uchyate. It is said. So, when one does not get attached to sense objects and when he has renounced all sankalpa, then alone he is said to have attained to yoga. Yada hi na indriyartheshu na karmasu. Na indriyartheshu na karmasu anushajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudhaha tada uchyate. So he has put it in beautiful poetry. Yada hinendriyartheshu न कर्मस्वनु षज्जते सर्वसंकल्प संन्यासी योगारूढ़स्तदोच्यते. Let us look at the bhashyam. Yada samadhiyamana chitto yogi hi indriyartheshu indriyanam arthaha shabdadayaha teshu indriyartheshu karmasu cha nitya naimittika kamya pratisiddheshu prayojana bhava buddhya na anushajjate anushangam kartavyata buddhim na karoti ityarthaha. Very beautiful, simple explanation by Shankaracharya. Look at that. He says that yogi who is working on samadhiya chitta, the steadfastness in his mind, he, in the objects of senses like sound, shabdadaya, because the object, the indriyas themselves do not have a problem, because when we are sleeping they leave you alone. We have all the faculties, but it is just that Vishaya does not come and hit the indriya at that point of time. So for this person, even when Vishaya hits it, like sound, Shabda, Sparisha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, all of it, Shabdadayaha, Teshu, Indriyarteshu, and Karmasu, all the different activities that he is doing as duties. Like what? What duty? He says all of it. Nitya, Naimittika, Kamya, Pratisiddha. He classifies into two things. One is some things that you have to perform because you have a role in the society. Because if you are a father, some things are expected out of you when you play the role of a father or a mother or a daughter-in-law or a teacher or an employee. Any role that you take up in the society, you are expected to follow those. And in those, there are two kinds of activities. Daily activities and occasional activities. These are called Nitya and Naimittika. And our activities don't stop there. Then there is another category. The ones that I want to do. It is just that my own desire, I want to do this. And there are things that I shouldn't be doing. So those are Kamya and Pratisiddha. So Shankaracharya says Nitya, Naimittika, Kamya, Pratisiddha. All of these Prayojana Abhava Buddhya. There is nothing that he needs to achieve by doing all that. Na anushajjate. Anushangam kartavyata buddhim. I have to do this. I have to do this. I need to have it. Kind of a buddhi that na karoti. He does not entertain that. So when and sarva sankalpa sannyasi sarvan sankalpan iha amutra kamahetun sannyasitum sheelam asya iti sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudhaha prapta yoga ityetat tada tasmin kale uchyate. So he says when he is able to renounce the seed of desire, that which is a thought that brings something now or for a better life later. Iha amutra kama hetun. Because mostly our activities are directed towards two things. Once that we need something now or something later. Iha is now, amutra is later. But he has neither of these desires. He nothing to do with the betterment now or in a better life next life. Like what? Like wealth or pleasure. Kama hetun sannyasitum sheelam asya iti sarva sankalpa sannyasi. So he renounces that thought. Then he is a sarva sankalpa sannyasi. He is a yoga arudha. He has attained the benefit of yoga. Yoga rudaha iti arthaha. Sankalpa mula hi sarve kamaha. By the word sarva sankalpa sannyasi, he has renounced all desire and all actions. What Shankaracharya wants to show is that the thought that gives rises to a want that propels you into action is the seed. Sankalpa mulaha kamo. Sankalpa mula hi sarve kamaha. And he gives a pramana for it. Manusmriti. Very beautiful statement by Bhagavan Manu. Sankalpa mula kamo vai yajnaha sankalpa sambhavaha. Sankalpamulah kamo vai yajna sankalpa sambhavaha. Desiring from the thought, and the thought raises to yajna, meaning activity. First thought appears, because the thought appears, desire appears, and then you are propelled into action. So the first seed is the thought. And another quote by Shankaracharya, Kama janami te moolam. Kama, hey Kama, he is addressing Kama and says, Janami te moolam, I know your origin. Sankalpatmika jayase natvam sankalpayishyami tena mena bhavishyasi. A very beautiful verse from Mahabharata again. Hey Kama, hey desire, I know your seed. The thought is to entertain that thought. So when that thought comes, at that point of time when somebody wakes up, he can be jagrata. You wake up at that time. Kama janami te moolam sankalpatmika jayase natvam sankalpayishyami. I am not going to entertain that thought. Tena mena bhavishyasi. Because of that, the action doesn't happen. Ityadi smritehe. So Mahabharata is a smriti. So he says, Ityadi smritehe. Sarva kama parityago cha sarva karma sanyasaha siddho bhavati. Sa yatha kamo bhavati tat kratur bhavati yat kratur bhavati tat karma kurute. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Again and again different quotes to emphasize the point by Shankaracharya. Ityadi smriti anyascha. Aha. Ityadi smriti nyayascha nahi sarva kalp. Okay, so he says the reason. Okay, he says this thought that the seed or sankalpa is the seed of kama has been proven by Shruti, Smriti, all that. But he says nyayascha. Even if you leave Shruti and Smriti, even if you think logically, think about it. Nahi sarva sankalpa sanyaso kaschit spanditumapi shaktaha. So not even just Shruti and Smriti, even reasoning also leads to the same conclusion for a surrendering of thought. Without that, he cannot even move. Na spanditumapi shaktaha. So spanditumapi. If somebody has read the Saundarya Lahari, this will resonate with them. Shivashaktya yukto yadi bhavati shaktah prabhavitum na chedevam devana kalukuchalaha spanditumapi. He says Parameshwara cannot even move without Shakti. So he is spanditumapi. Because even to move my hand, there is a sankalpa that is there in my mind. For me to get up and walk, there is a sankalpa. So this sankalpa is the reason for all thoughts, is the message there. Spanditumapi. Incidentally, many people says, oh, is this work by a certain author, or this work is not by a certain author? One of the clues by which you get to find out that is the same idea or the same phraseology used by this person in both works or in different works of his. And you see that whatever tradition has accepted as the works of Shankaracharya, generally you see a lot of these phraseology and ideas consistently used across the board. Even though there will be some apurvata or some new thought in a certain book, like Viveka Chudamani, there is a lot of emphasis in Samadhi. Many people say that, hey, that is not by Shankaracharya because there is a new thought there. But actually, if you look at the phraseology and stuff like that, across the board, there is a very strong level of consistency. Even if it is not by the same person, it is by the same thought process that one or two people have written these books together. But it is consistent with the same ideology. That is the point there. Anyway, that was a distraction. But this Panditumapi pointed me to Saundarya Lahari suddenly. But so the point is simple. A mind that is quiet and it is lit by the luminosity of the self, is in a profound state of meditation. That is the reason why it does not need the urge of the senses. There is a great level of ananda for a yogi in his own mind. That is the reason why the external factors is not something that entertains him. That you would have seen with several Mahatmas. And one for a sadhaka, one axiom that is given is that check your sankalpa. Is the sankalpa sattvic? Entertain it. If it is not a sattvic sankalpa, you better work on it and avoid it. So this is given in other texts that deal with it. How to purify your mind. Slowly we need to entertain sattvic sankalpas. And that is the reason why a very spiritual, religious timetable for a day is very, very important. Right from the time you get up till the time you go to bed, generally there is a prescription that is given. It is called Nitya Anhika, or daily activities. If you go to Ayurveda, they'll give you a big prescription as to how to regulate your body mind activities throughout the day. When to consume food, when to consume water, how much food to consume, how much water to consume, when to do it, what kind of a food to consume, when to not, how to eat a fruit, how not to eat a fruit. All this, like, it is a little overwhelming, but if you look at the intention, and if you can get a simple prescription, I think once Aslesha ji gave a presentation on this Nityan Hikam. And like how how the day is divided, and how activities are divided in the day, and how even Ritu, the change of seasons, and how they recommend different things to maintain health and so on. So anyway, the point is simple: entertain good thoughts. In fact, in the Mandukya Upanishad, this seed sankalpa is dealt quite a bit. Yam yam lokam manasa samvibhati vishuddha sattvaha kamayate yascha kaman tam lokam jayate tascha kaman tasmat atmagyam harchayet bhuti kamaha. It gives a very beautiful idea, which is atmagyam archayet. You seek the proximity of these people who has won over their senses. The reason is their self illuminosity, the peace that they radiate is something that is going to stick to you as well. So you better seek such people and get their acquaintance, is an advice given by the Upanishad. So having said all that, let's look at one or two more shlokas. So this is a very beautiful shloka in Bhagavad Gita, often quoted, and we will look at it from the context perspective alone, but you can take it as a separate shloka and deal with so much of meaning for this shloka. So what is the context? So the context is yada evam yogarudaha tada tena atma udhruto bhavati samsarad anartha jatat ataha. So if one is able to lift his mind from samsara or sense objects that bind him using this yoga, then what? Then what happens? How can he lift himself from anartha jata samsarat? So that is the definition of samsara by Shankaracharya. Anartha jata samsarat udhruto bhavati ataha tena. So how does he lift himself by this? For that, Bhagavan says, let us, Lakshmi auntie, can you read? Or Swati, are you settled down by now?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
read.
Thank you. Uddharedatmanatmanam
Uddhareta उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं
नात्मानमवसादयेत्
नात्मानमवसाधयेत्
आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः
आत्मैवह्यातनो आत्मै sorry, could you repeat that?
आत्मा एव हि आत्मनः बन्धुः. All these words are combined. आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः.
आत्मैवह्यात्मनो बन्धुः
आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः.
आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः
उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं नात्मानमवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः. And you get by reading Bhagavad Gita, you get a little bit of the personality of Krishna. Actually, how does he think? The way Krishna thinks also comes out by reading this, which is very interesting. He says, Uddharet. Uddharet Atmana Atmanam. Atmana by himself. Atmanam oneself. Uddharet. May he rise. May he lift up. May a person lift himself up by himself, oneself. Atmanam, himself, na avasadayet. He should not lower himself. Avat sad, to sink. Avasadayet na, do not lower yourself. Do not debase yourself. Do not lower yourself. Atmanam na avasadayet. Atmavan, the of the self, Atma, the self, yevahi bandhuhu, is indeed his friend or relative. Bandhu, relative is a much more good term. Bandhuhu, he is the friend. Bandhanat, that which binds him, is that's the reason why he is called as Bandhu. Atma evahi ripuhu atmanaha. Oneself is indeed his own enemy. The message is simple. A man is himself his friend and his foe. That is all, is it? That is there. Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuhu atmanaha. So, Shankaracharya has a little bit to say. Very interesting things. Uddharete, samsara sagare nimagnam atmana atmanam tataha tat urdhvam haret uddharet. So let a man lift up himself who is drowned in the ocean of samsara. That is, may he train himself as to become a yoga rudha. Yoga rudha tam apadayed ityarthaha. Apadayed ityarthaha. Yoga rudha tam apadayed ityarthaha. So what does it mean by saying that you lift up yourself? It means that you become a yoga rudha. Na atmavane avasadayet na adhaha nayet. Let one not push himself down. Na adaha nayet, gamayet. Let him not go down. Atma eva hi yasmat atmanaha bandhuhu. How can one become a friend for himself? Na hi anyaha kaschit bandhuhu. There is nobody else who is related to you than yourself. Yaha samsara muktaye bhavati. Who he works towards samsara mukti, he is the bandhu for himself. Bandhurapi tavat moksham prati pratikula eva. Snehadi bandha na ayatanatvat. Thus, no other friend can lift you from samsara. A bandhu will actually bind you in samsara here with sneha. That is what he says. तस्मात् युक्तम् अवधारणम् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः इति आत्मैव रिपुः शत्रुः यः अन्यः अपकारी बाह्यः शत्रुः सोऽपि आत्मप्रयुक्त एवेति युक्तमेव अवधारणम् आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः. So one nice observation here. He says he alone is his own enemy. Even the one he thinks in his mind that is an enemy is made an enemy by himself. So it's not as though like somebody is an enemy altogether. It is like he might be a friend of somebody else. So the enmity is something that is in your mind. So this bandhu and ripu is something that is there in your own mind. And you are the cause of the enmity. That is his message. So he says, Atma eva atmanaha bandhuhu, Atma eva atmanaha ripuhu. So here Krishna said, what is a bahiranga sadhana, what is an antaranga sadhana, what are the things that externally help something, and what are the things that internally help a person. That is how we started this journey in the 6th chapter, saying karma yoga is a bahiranga sadhana, dhyana yoga is an antaranga sadhana. So Bhagavan already talked about equanimity of mind. Now he is talking, that is what is the equanimity of mind, that yoga rudhatvam is the subject matter so far. Now he is talking about self-effort. This is a very important thing in the Shastra. Shastra talks about Atma Prasada. Prasada means a blessing. But first he talks about Guru Prasada, Ishwara Prasada, Shastra Prasada and Atma Prasada. You have to bless yourself. In fact, this is we have such a contrast. The Vedantic view of things is such a contrast. We never called ourselves as sinners, papi, nothing. Papa, papoham, papa karma, papa, papatma, papa sambhava. This kind of a thought process is never there in Vedanta. In Vedanta, we consider ourselves as blessed in every aspect of life. That Bhagavan has given us so much that he has given the buddhi to bless ourselves. So here the emphasis is in Atma Prasada. So unless you lift up yourself, gain your own spirits, nothing is possible for a person. So this self-effort is the next sadhana, which is an antaranga sadhana. So the main topic of Vedanta is Atma Vichara, and Atma Vichara is not something that is going to happen to you. It is not like a kundalini that raises or something like that. It is something that you have to sit and work for yourself. That Atma Prasada is the emphasis. In fact, in Viveka Chudamani, again another work of Shankaracharya, he rephrases this shloka very beautifully. He says, Uddhared Atmanatmanam Magnam Samsara Varidhau Yogarudatvam Asadya Samyak Darshana Nishtaya. Same thought. He uses the word Yoga Rudha there. So you know that the person who wrote Viveka Chudamani is somebody who is in line with the thought process that is there in the Gita Bhashyam again. So if you really think about it, what is samsara? It is karma vasana. And how did this karma vasana come? I only created it. My own likes and dislikes that create this vasana. So how to resolve it? By my own effort. Atma eva hi atmanaha bandhuhu, Atma eva hi atmanaha ripuhu. So that is the reason why we never define moksha as something that it's a prapya vastu, that is need to be attained. Moksha is always talked about as a siddha vastu, that which we already have. It is just that, like a pair of glasses that is sitting on my head that I don't know that I already have. Moksha is something that I am already somebody who is free, is something that needs to be understood by giving up wrong notions. Anatma avidya pariharaha eva sadhanam. So that is the effort that is needed, not that something needs to be gotten. No prapyata is not there. Nothing need to be gained there. What needs to be gained is already there. It is just it is something that is there in our own pockets. So that is the reason why Upanishad says Uttishtha Jagrata Prapya Varanni Bodhata. These are often quoted by Swami Vivekananda. Uttishtha Jagrata. He used it towards self-empowerment. So and again to caution, this Atma is not the ego. It's not the ego. Rather ahankara. This is not ahankara. This Atma is the prasadatma, that which blesses you. In fact, a famous quote, Swami Ramatirtha in the Woods of God Realization, he says, it is a sin to call you a sinner. It is a sin to call you anything but God. This is a phrase of Swami Ramatirtha in his book, which is very it's a very powerful book to read. If you have not read it, do read In the Woods of God Realization by Swami Ramatirtha. Atmana Atmanam Uddharet is the message. Let me just give the next connection and we'll conclude here. Atmaiva bandhuhu Atmaiva ripuhu Atmanaha ityuktam tatra Kim lakshana atma atmano bandhuhu kim lakshano va atma atmano ripuhu ityuchyate. So what sort of an atma is a friend to himself and what sort of an atma is an enemy to himself? For that Bhagavan is going to say bandhuratma atmanastasya yena atmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartet atmaiva shatruvat. He is going to say that, hey, whoever has won his senses or the one who has really won himself. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartet atmaiva shatruvat. So here, when the earlier verse Bhagavan says you are your own enemy, you are your own friend, what sort of a you is a friend, what sort of a you is an enemy, he is going to define it in the next verse. That we will see in the next week's satsang. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet, tatsat krishnarpanamastu. Om